Chapter 1. Childhood Memories. Ethan could still smell the salt in the air and feel the breeze on his face as he thought back to his childhood. Growing up, summers were a cherished time for him, filled with endless adventures at the beach and around the holiday caravan his family rented on the south coast near Cape May. His parents had started renting the caravan when Ethan was just 5 or 6, and it became a tradition. Every school break, Ethan, his mom, and his 2 sisters would pack up and head down to the coast, leaving the hustle and bustle of city life behind. His father, unfortunately, couldn't always join them due to work commitments, but that never dampened their spirits. The upgrade to a bigger caravan after a few years meant they could invite friends and relatives, turning their holidays into even bigger gatherings. The site was always bustling with other families, and for Ethan and his sisters, it was a paradise. With his mom never quite mastering driving, the kids had the freedom to explore the site and its surroundings, making every day an adventure. Ethan's sisters often thought they were too old to play with him, leaving Ethan to seek out other kids to play with. That's how he met Alex, a tomboyish girl a year older than him. She had a large red birthmark on the left side of her face, something that seemed to scare other kids away, but it never bothered Ethan. They quickly became inseparable, exploring every nook and cranny of the area together. "Hey, Ethan, let's go see if we can find any new caves along the cliffs today," Alex would shout, already sprinting ahead with her wild, curly hair bouncing in the wind. Ethan loved her adventurous spirit. "Wait up, Alex, you know I can climb as fast as you." They spent their days climbing cliffs, throwing stones into the sea, and occasionally spying on couples making out, which they found both hilarious and confusing. As they grew older, their explorations took them further, sometimes into the town of Cape May itself. They would take the bus into town, exploring the harbor and the quaint shops, enjoying their growing independence. Ethan was fiercely protective of Alex. He hated when ignorant people made cruel comments about her birthmark. More than once, he found himself in fights, defending her honor. "Why can't they just mind their own business?" Ethan grumbled one day after a particularly nasty encounter. He had a split lip but wore it like a badge of honor. Alex shrugged, trying to act tough, but Ethan knew the comments hurt her. "People are just dumb. But thanks, Ethan. You always stand up for me." Around age 12, Alex started wearing makeup to cover her birthmark. Ethan didn't like it, thinking it made her look worse, but he never said anything. He knew she was trying to fit in, trying to avoid the stares and whispers. Their visits to the local dance club on the caravan site became a regular thing. They had attended countless kids' activities there over the years, but now they were joining the older kids for dances in the evenings. The bouncers knew them well and always stepped in if anyone tried to mess with Alex. They respected Ethan for his loyalty and toughness. When Ethan was 15, his world was turned upside down. It was during the Easter holidays when he eagerly ran to Alex's caravan, only to find it closed for the winter. The site office informed him that the caravan had been sold. His heart sank. The holiday that followed was the worst he'd ever had. He tried to enjoy it with his family, but the absence of Alex was a dark cloud over his usually sunny holiday spirits. His dad tried to find out what had happened to Alex and her family. Years later, he told Ethan that Alex's father had passed away from influenza that winter, and her mother couldn't afford to keep the caravan. They had moved away, and Ethan had no way of contacting her. The rest of that year, Ethan stayed home with his dad while his mom and sisters went to the coast. He spent his summer hanging out with school friends, trying to fill the void Alex had left. As he grew older, the family's holidays changed. They started going abroad, influenced by his sisters who didn't want to be away from their boyfriends. The caravan was sold, and they embarked on new adventures in places like Italy. Despite enjoying these trips, Ethan always felt a pang of nostalgia for those carefree days with Alex at the caravan site. Ethan's teenage years were filled with pop festivals and hanging out with friends. He tried various jobs after finishing college, but found it hard to stick with any of them. He owned a 1959 Hillman Minx, his pride and joy, and his personal escape vehicle. One day, after a particularly frustrating encounter with his boss, he quit his job in a fit of anger. Driving aimlessly, Ethan was rear-ended by a truck at a red light. The truck driver was apologetic and led him to his boss, who offered to cover the damages. While waiting for his car to be fixed, Ethan was unexpectedly taken for a driving assessment and ended up with a new job as a truck driver. It turned out to be a job he loved, one that suited his sense of direction and adventure. At Marshall's, a transport company where he often picked up loads, Ethan met Megan. She worked in the dispatch office and was known for her stunning looks and flirtatious nature. While other drivers chased after her, Ethan kept things professional, which seemed to intrigue her. Over time, they started spending more time together, and before long, they were dating. Ethan's life took on a new rhythm, balancing his job and his relationship with Megan. They eventually got married and had 2 daughters, Sophia and Emma. Life seemed perfect, filled with the usual ups and downs of family life. But the idyllic life Ethan had built was about to be tested in ways he could never have imagined. Chapter 2. Meeting Megan. The day Ethan first laid eyes on Megan was one that would forever alter the course of his life. He had been working as a truck driver for a few years by then, enjoying the freedom of the open road and the camaraderie of the trucking community. Marshall's, one of the places where he frequently picked up loads, felt like a second home to him. It was there, amid the hustle and bustle of the dispatch office, that he met Megan. Megan was hard to miss. With her striking red hair and confident demeanor, she commanded attention wherever she went. She was known for her impeccable style, short skirts, tight blouses, and high heels that accentuated her long legs. But beyond her appearance, it was her sharp wit and vibrant personality that caught Ethan's attention. "Hey, new guy," Megan called out to Ethan one day as he walked into the dispatch office. "You are Ethan, right? I've got your delivery notes here." Ethan nodded, trying not to be too obvious as he took in her radiant smile. "Thanks, Megan. Nice to meet you." Over the following weeks, their interactions became more frequent. Megan seemed to enjoy their banter, often teasing Ethan about his serious demeanor. Ethan, in turn, found himself looking forward to his trips to Marshall's, not just for the work, but for the chance to see Megan. One Friday evening, as Ethan was wrapping up his week, he noticed Megan standing by the coffee machine, looking unusually contemplative. He approached her, curious. "Everything okay, Megan? You seem a bit off today." Megan sighed, then gave him a small smile. "Just one of those days, Ethan. Sometimes it feels like life is all work and no play." Ethan chuckled. "Tell me about it. But hey, the weekend's here. Any plans to unwind?" To his surprise, Megan's eyes lit up. "Actually, I don't. How about you?" "Nothing special," Ethan replied, feeling a spark of spontaneity. "How about we grab a drink and toast to surviving another week?" Megan laughed, a sound that seemed to brighten the entire office. "You know what, Ethan? That sounds like exactly what I need." That evening, they met at a cozy bar downtown. As the night wore on, the conversation flowed effortlessly. They talked about everything from their favorite movies to their childhood memories. Ethan shared stories about his summers at Cape May and his adventures with Alex, while Megan opened up about her dreams and ambitions. "Growing up, I always wanted to travel," Megan confessed, twirling her glass. "See the world, experience new cultures. But here I am, stuck in a dispatch office." Ethan nodded, understanding the feeling all too well. "I get that. Driving trucks isn't exactly the adventure I imagined, but it has its moments. And who knows, maybe someday we'll both get to chase those dreams." As the night drew to a close, Ethan walked Megan to her car. There was a palpable tension in the air, a sense of something unspoken between them. Megan hesitated for a moment, then leaned in and kissed Ethan on the cheek. "Thanks for tonight, Ethan. I really needed this." Ethan smiled, feeling a warmth spread through him. "Anytime, Megan. See you Monday." "Absolutely," Megan replied, her smile lingering as she got into her car and drove away. From that night on, Ethan and Megan's relationship grew deeper. They started spending more time together outside of work, discovering shared interests and building a strong connection. It wasn't long before they were officially dating, much to the surprise and envy of some of Ethan's colleagues. "Man, Ethan, how'd you land a girl like Megan?" one of his co-workers, Dave, asked one day as they loaded up their trucks. Ethan shrugged, a grin spreading across his face. Just lucky, I guess. She's something special, and she was. Megan brought a new energy into Ethan's life, challenging him in ways he hadn't expected. She was ambitious and driven, qualities that pushed Ethan to strive for more in his own career. Together they made a formidable team. A few years later, they decided to tie the knot. Their wedding was a small, intimate affair, attended by close family and friends. Ethan's parents beamed with pride, while Megan's family welcomed Ethan with open arms. It was a joyous occasion, filled with laughter, dancing, and promises of a bright future. Life as newlyweds brought its own set of challenges, but Ethan and Megan faced them head-on. They bought a modest house in a quiet neighborhood and soon welcomed their first child, Sophia. The arrival of their daughter brought immeasurable joy to their lives. Ethan loved being a father. He reveled in the late-night feedings, the diaper changes, and the quiet moments spent rocking Sophia to sleep. Megan, too, embraced motherhood with open arms, balancing her career with the demands of raising a child. A couple of years later, their family grew with the birth of their second daughter, Emma. Their house was filled with the sounds of laughter and the pitter-patter of tiny feet. Ethan often found himself marveling at how much his life had changed since meeting Megan. Despite the demands of work and family, Ethan and Megan made it a point to keep the romance alive. They planned regular date nights, stole moments for themselves amidst the chaos, and supported each other through thick and thin. However, as with any relationship, there were bumps along the way. The pressures of work, the challenges of parenthood, and the inevitable strains of life sometimes took their toll. But through it all, Ethan and Megan remained committed to each other, determined to weather any storm that came their way. One evening, as they sat on their porch watching the sunset, Megan rested her head on Ethan's shoulder. "Do you ever think about the future, Ethan? Where we'll be in 10, 20 years?" Ethan smiled, wrapping his arm around her. "All the time, Megan. And as long as I am with you and the girls, I know it's going to be amazing." Megan sighed contentedly. "I feel the same way. We've built something beautiful here, Ethan. I am so grateful for you." Ethan kissed the top of her head, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "And I am grateful for you, Megan. Here's to many more years of happiness." As they sat there, basking in the warmth of the setting sun, Ethan couldn't help but feel that, despite the ups and downs, he had everything he could ever want. Little did he know, life had more twists and turns in store, and the strength of their bond would soon be put to the ultimate test. Chapter 3. Building a Life Together. Ethan's life had settled into a rhythm that, while busy, was immensely fulfilling. He loved the open road, the hum of the engine beneath him, and the camaraderie among his fellow truckers. Every delivery felt like an adventure, and every return home was a joyful reunion with his family. Sophia and Emma, his two beautiful daughters, brought a light into his life that he hadn't known was possible. One sunny Saturday morning, Ethan sat at the kitchen table enjoying a rare, leisurely breakfast with his family. Sophia, now 4, was chattering animatedly about her latest drawing, while Emma, barely 2, was busy smearing her breakfast across her high-chair tray. "Daddy, look!" "I drew a picture of our family," Sophia said, proudly holding up a crayon masterpiece. Ethan took the drawing with a smile. "This is wonderful, Sophia. You are quite the artist." Megan, sitting across from him, chuckled. "She gets that from you, you know. I can draw to save my life." Ethan grinned. "I think she gets a bit of both of us." Their weekends were often spent like this, simple, family-focused, and full of love. Megan had returned to work part-time after Emma was born, balancing her career and motherhood with a grace that Ethan admired deeply. She was the glue that held their family together, organizing playdates, managing the household, and still finding time for her own ambitions. One evening, as they were putting the girls to bed, Ethan noticed Megan seemed a bit distant. After tucking Sophia and Emma in, he joined her on the couch. "Everything okay, Megan? You've been quiet tonight," he asked, gently taking her hand. Megan sighed, leaning into him. "Just a lot on my mind, Ethan. Work's been stressful and I feel like I'm constantly juggling 100 things." Ethan nodded, understanding the weight she carried. You're doing an amazing job, Megan, but you don't have to do it all alone. Let me help more. She smiled, appreciating his support. You already do so much, Ethan. I just need to find a better balance. Sometimes it feels like I'm not giving my best to anything. Ethan pulled her closer. We'll figure it out together. You're not alone in this. Their conversation was interrupted by a cry from Emma's room. Megan started to get up, but Ethan gently pushed her back down. I've got this one, he said, heading down the hall to soothe their youngest. As Ethan rocked Emma back to sleep, he thought about Megan's words. He admired her strength and dedication, but knew that they needed to find a way to lighten the load. The idea of hiring some help crossed his mind, perhaps a nanny or a part-time housekeeper, anything to make their lives a bit easier. The next day, over breakfast, Ethan broached the subject. Megan, I was thinking maybe we should consider getting some help around the house. Just part-time to take some of the pressure off. Megan looked thoughtful. I've considered it, but I wasn't as sure if we could afford it. We can make it work, Ethan assured her. It is an investment in our sanity and our family's happiness. Megan nodded slowly. You are right. Let us look into it. With the decision made, they began searching for someone who could help with the household chores and occasionally watch the girls. It wasn't long before they found Mary, a kind and experienced woman in her 50s who had raised 3 children of her own. Mary quickly became a beloved part of their household, helping with the cleaning, cooking, and occasionally babysitting the girls. With Mary's help, Megan found a new sense of balance. She could focus more on her career, and the time she spent with Sophia and Emma was more relaxed and joyful. Ethan noticed the change and felt a renewed sense of gratitude for their life together. Despite the improvements, life wasn't tea without its challenges. One particularly stressful week, Ethan was assigned a long haul that took him away from home for several days. It was the first time in a while that he had been gone for such an extended period, and he missed his family terribly. On the final night of his trip, Ethan called home. Megan answered, and he could hear the sounds of the girls playing in the background. Hey, honey, how are things? Ethan asked, longing to be home. We are managing, Megan replied, her voice warm but tired. The girls miss you, and so do I. I miss you all too. I can't wait to be back. Just one more day. We'll be here, waiting, Megan said softly. Drive safe, Ethan. Ethan smiled at the phone. I will. Give the girls a kiss for me. The next evening, Ethan finally pulled into the driveway, exhausted but happy to be home. Sophia and Emma ran out to greet him, their squeals of delight filling the air. Daddy, Daddy's home! Sophia shouted, wrapping her arms around his legs. Ethan scooped them both up, hugging them tightly. I missed you so much, my girls. Megan stood in the doorway, smiling as she watched the reunion. Ethan set the girls down and walked over to her, pulling her into a deep embrace. Welcome home, Ethan, she whispered. It's good to be home, he replied, kissing her gently. Life continued to move forward, each day bringing its own mix of joy and challenges. The family settled into a comfortable routine, supported by the love they shared and the help Mary provided. Ethan and Megan's bond remained strong, their commitment to each other unwavering. But as the years passed, subtle changes began to creep into their lives. Megan seemed more distracted, and Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. He tried to ignore it, chalking it up to the stresses of work and parenting, but a nagging doubt lingered at the back of his mind. One evening, as they sat on the porch after putting the girls to bed, Ethan decided to voice his concerns. Megan, is everything okay? You've seemed distant lately. Megan hesitated, then sighed. It's just work, Ethan. It's been really demanding, and I feel like I'm constantly running on empty. Ethan took her hand, looking into her eyes. We've always faced everything together, Megan. If there's more to it, you can tell me. Megan shook her head, forcing a smile. I appreciate it, Ethan. Really, I just need to figure things out. Ethan nodded, though his concern remained. He resolved to keep a closer eye on things, hoping that whatever was troubling Megan would soon pass. Unbeknownst to him, the storm clouds were already gathering on the horizon. and the strength of their marriage would soon be tested in ways he could never have imagined. Chapter 4. Suspicious Activities. The sense of unease that had been gnawing at Ethan for months finally came to a head one early summer morning. He was on his way to work, navigating the familiar route from his home to Marshall's. The sun was just beginning to rise, casting a golden glow over the quiet streets. As he drove, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. It started with the subtle awareness of a car behind him, following a little too closely. At first, he brushed it off as coincidence. The roads were public, and it was not unusual for cars to follow each other during the morning rush. But as the days turned into weeks, Ethan noticed the same car, a dark blue sedan, appearing in his rearview mirror with unsettling regularity. The driver, a man in his late 40s with a perpetual scowl, seemed to be deliberately trailing him. On one particularly unsettling morning, Ethan decided to test his suspicions. Instead of heading directly to work, he took an unexpected detour through a series of winding back roads. The blue sedan followed every turn, its presence a constant, unnerving shadow. By the time Ethan pulled into Marshall's parking lot, his nerves were frayed. "What's up, Ethan? You look like you've seen a ghost," Dave commented as they met in the dispatch office. Ethan forced a smile. "Just tired, I guess." "Long night." Dave raised an eyebrow but didn't press further. Ethan's mind raced with questions. Who was this man? Why was he following him? And most importantly, what did he want? That evening, as he drove home, Ethan kept a vigilant eye on his mirrors. Sure enough, the blue sedan appeared again. This time, Ethan's frustration boiled over. Instead of heading straight home, he decided to confront his pursuer. He led the car on a wild chase through the city, weaving in and out of traffic, trying to shake the tail. Finally, he pulled into an industrial area he knew well and parked behind a large truck, out of sight. The blue sedan drove past, seemingly confused by the sudden disappearance of Ethan's car. Ethan watched as it circled the block twice before giving up and driving away. His heart pounded in his chest, a mix of adrenaline and fear coursing through him. When he got home, Megan was waiting on the porch, a concerned look on her face. "You were late. Everything okay?" Ethan hesitated, then decided to keep his worries to himself for now. "Yeah, just got held up at work. Sorry to make you worry." Megan's eyes searched his face, but she didn't push. "Dinner's almost ready. Come inside and relax." The next morning, Ethan's unease only grew. As he pulled out of the driveway, he noticed a different car following him, a red SUV driven by a woman with dark sunglasses and a stern expression. It was clear now that this wasn't a coincidence. Someone was targeting him, but who and why? Determined to get to the bottom of it, Ethan devised a plan. That evening, instead of going home, he headed to a local pub he frequented with his colleagues. He spotted the red SUV in his mirror, following him closely. As he parked and walked into the pub, he noticed the woman entering a few moments later. She took a seat at the bar, casually glancing in his direction. Ethan played it cool, ordering a drink and joining a game of snooker with some friends. Throughout the evening, he kept an eye on the woman, noting how she watched him. Her presence was a constant distraction, making it hard to focus on the game. Finally, Ethan decided to confront her. He excused himself from the game and approached the bar, taking a seat next to her. "Nice night for a drink, isn't it?" he said casually. The woman looked at him, surprised but composed. "It is. What is your name?" Ethan leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. "I think you know my name, and I'd like to know why you've been following me." The woman's eyes widened for a moment before she regained her composure. "I don't know what you're talking about." Ethan's patience was wearing thin. "Listen, I've noticed you and another guy following me for weeks. I don't know who you are or what you want, but this needs to stop." She looked around, as if to make sure no one was listening, then leaned closer. "I'm just doing my job. If you have a problem with that, take it up with my employer." Before Ethan could respond, she stood up, paid for her drink, and walked out of the pub. Ethan watched her go, a mix of frustration and determination boiling within him. He needed answers, and he was going to get them. The following day, Ethan decided to talk to Megan. Over breakfast, he broached the subject carefully. Megan, have you noticed anything strange lately? Like someone following us? Megan looked up from her coffee, frowning. Following us? What do you mean? Ethan took a deep breath. For the past few weeks, Ivy noticed the same cars following me to and from work. Yesterday, I confronted one of them, a woman, and she said she was just doing her job. Megan's eyes widened in alarm. Ethan, that's serious. Have you told the police? I haven't yet. I wanted to make sure I wasn't just being paranoid, but this is starting to feel too real to ignore. Megan nodded, her concern evident. Maybe you should talk to the police, and in the meantime, let us be extra cautious. Ethan agreed, but decided to do some investigating on his own first. He reached out to Emily, his sister, who had always been good at digging up information. They met for lunch at a quiet cafe. Emily, I need your help, Ethan said, explaining the situation. Emily listened intently, her brow furrowing. That S definitely suspicious. Do you have any idea who might be behind it? Ethan shook his head. I've been racking my brain, but I can think of anyone who would have a reason to follow me. Emily leaned back in her chair, thinking. I have a friend who works in private security. Maybe he can help. Give me a couple of days to see what I can find out. True to her word, Emily got back to Ethan a few days later. My friend ran a check on the license plates of the cars you mentioned. The blue sedan is registered to a company called Secure Solutions. They do private investigative work. Ethan's mind raced. But why would a PI be following me? Emily shrugged. That is the million-dollar question. My friend also found out that the red SUV was rented under a fake name. Whoever is behind this is covering their tracks well. Ethan thanked Emily and decided it was time to involve the police. He made an appointment with Officer Collins, a friend of his from high school who had become a detective. They met at the police station, where Ethan explained everything. Officer Collins took notes, nodding thoughtfully. This is definitely unusual. We'll open an investigation and see what we can find out. In the meantime, be careful, Ethan. Whoever is behind this might not have the best intentions. Feeling a mix of relief and apprehension, Ethan returned home. He filled Megan in on his meeting with the police, and they resolved to be extra vigilant. Despite the precautions, the surveillance continued. Ethan felt the eyes on him wherever he went, a constant reminder that his life was being monitored. The tension began to take its toll, making him more irritable and anxious. One evening, as he was tucking Sophia and Emma into bed, Sophia looked up at him with wide eyes. Daddy, why are you so worried? Ethan forced a smile, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Just some grown-up stuff, sweetie. Nothing for you to worry about. Sophia nodded, but her concern was clear. Promise? I promise, Ethan said, kissing her forehead. Now get some sleep. As he closed their bedroom door, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that his promise might be harder to keep than he'd hoped. The mysterious surveillance, the growing tension at home, and the uncertainty of who was behind it all weighed heavily on him. Little did he know the answers he sought were closer than he realized, and the storm that had been brewing was about to break, bringing with it revelations that would change everything. Chapter 5. Discovering the Truth. The tension that had been building in Ethan's life reached a boiling point one fateful evening. After weeks of surveillance, strange encounters, and the persistent feeling of being watched, Ethan knew he had to get to the bottom of it all. His conversations with Megan had been strained, the stress affecting every aspect of their lives. One evening, as Ethan was preparing dinner, Sophia came running into the kitchen with the phone in her hand. Daddy, it's Uncle Brian. He wants to talk to you. Ethan took the phone, surprised. Brian, Megan's brother, rarely called. Hey, Brian, what's up? Ethan, we need to talk. Can you meet me at the park near your house in about an hour? Brian's voice was tense, almost urgent. Ethan frowned. Sure, I'll be there. Is everything okay? I'll explain when we meet. Just come alone, okay? Okay, see you soon, Ethan replied, hanging up the phone. He turned to Megan, who was watching him with concern. Brian wants to meet at the park. He sounded worried. I'll go see what's going on, Ethan explained. Megan nodded. Be careful, Ethan. Let me know if you need anything. Ethan kissed her on the cheek and headed out. As he walked to the park, his mind raced with possibilities. Brian was a straightforward guy, not one to get involved in drama. Whatever it was, it had to be serious. When Ethan arrived at the park, he spotted Brian sitting on a bench, looking anxious. Ethan approached him, trying to read his expression. "Brian, what's going on?" Ethan asked, sitting down next to him. Brian glanced around, ensuring they were alone. "Ethan, I don't know how to say this, but I think Megan might be in trouble." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" Brian took a deep breath. "I've noticed some strange things lately. Megan has been distant, distracted. I tried talking to her, but she brushed it off. Then a few days ago, I saw her meeting with a man in a coffee shop. They looked serious, almost secretive." Ethan's mind flashed back to the surveillance, the strange cars following him. "Describe the man, Brian. What did he look like? Tall, dark hair, mid-40s. He had a rough look about him, like he was used to trouble," Brian said. Ethan's blood ran cold. It matched the description of the man in the blue sedan. "Brian, I've been followed for weeks. I think this man is behind it." Brian looked shocked. "Followed? Why would someone be following you?" "I don't know, but I'm going to find out," Ethan said, determination hardening his voice. "Do you know where Megan is right now?" "She said she was working late, but I don't believe her," Brian admitted. Ethan nodded, standing up. "Thanks for telling me, Brian. I'm going to confront her about this. Be careful, Ethan. I've got your back if you need anything," Brian said, standing up and giving Ethan a reassuring pat on the shoulder. Ethan walked back home, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. He needed to confront Megan, but he had to be careful. He didn't want to scare her or push her away. When he got home, Megan was in the living room reading a book. She looked up as he entered, smiling. "Hey, how was your meeting with Brian?" Ethan took a deep breath. "Megan, we need to talk." Megan's smile faded, replaced by a look of concern. "What is it, Ethan? Are you in some kind of trouble?" "Who is the man you've been meeting with?" Ethan asked, trying to keep his voice calm. Megan's eyes widened in shock. "What?" "Ethan, Brian saw you. He saw you meeting with a man, and I have been followed for weeks. Please, Megan, tell me what is going on," Ethan pleaded. Megan looked down, tears welling up in her eyes. "Ethan, I didn't want to involve you. I thought I could handle it on my own." Ethan's heart ached seeing her so vulnerable. He sat down next to her, taking her hands in his. "Megan, we are in this together. Whatever it is, we can face it. Just tell me." Megan took a shaky breath. "His name is Adam Bennett. He says he has an old friend. We used to work together years ago. He contacted me out of the blue saying he needed help. He is in some kind of trouble and he's been asking me for money." Ethan's mind raced. "Why didn't you tell me? I didn't want to worry you. I thought I could just give him the money and he'd go away. But he keeps asking for more. I don't know what to do, Ethan." "I am scared," Megan confessed, tears streaming down her face. Ethan pulled her into a hug, his mind reeling. "Megan, we need to go to the police. This guy sounds dangerous." Megan nodded, clinging to him. "Okay, Ethan. I trust you." The next morning, they went to the police station together. Officer Collins listened intently as Megan explained the situation. "This Adam Bennett sounds like trouble. We'll open an investigation. In the meantime, make sure you are not alone. We'll keep an eye on things." Ethan and Megan left the station, feeling a mixture of relief and fear. They had taken the first step, but the road ahead was uncertain. That evening, as they sat down for dinner, Ethan noticed Sophia and Emma watching them closely. "Is everything okay, Daddy?" Sophia asked, her voice full of concern. Ethan smiled, trying to reassure her. "Everything's fine, sweetie. We're just dealing with some grown-up stuff." Sophia nodded, but Ethan could see the worry in her eyes. He reached across the table, taking Megan's hand. "We're going to get through this, together." Days turned into weeks, and the police investigation moved slowly. Adam Bennett seemed to have disappeared, leaving behind a trail of confusion and fear. Megan was jumpy, constantly looking over her shoulder, and Ethan's anxiety grew with each passing day. One evening, as Ethan was putting the girls to bed, his phone rang. It was Officer Collins. "Ethan, we have some news. We found Adam Bennett. He has been arrested for extortion and harassment. He wouldn't be bothering you anymore." Ethan's relief was palpable. "Thank you, Officer Collins. This means the world to us." Hanging up the phone, Ethan turned to Megan, who was standing in the doorway listening. "They got him, Megan. It's over." Megan burst into tears, a mix of relief and exhaustion. Ethan pulled her into his arms, holding her tightly. "We are safe now, Megan. We are safe." The days that followed were a blur of relief and cautious optimism. With Adam Bennett out of their lives, Ethan and Megan focused on rebuilding their sense of security. They talked more openly, sharing their fears and supporting each other through the healing process. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Megan rested her head on Ethan's shoulder. "Thank you for standing by me, Ethan. I don't know what I'd do without you." Ethan kissed the top of her head, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "We are a team, Megan. We can face anything together." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan felt a renewed sense of hope. They had faced a storm and come out stronger on the other side. Whatever challenges lay ahead, he knew they would face them together, as a family. Chapter 6. Confrontation and Revelation. Life seemed to slowly return to normal after Adam Bennett's arrest. Megan and Ethan felt a renewed sense of security and trust, but the experience had left its mark. The underlying tension, though less intense, still lingered in the background. Ethan couldn't help but feel that there was more to uncover. One Friday evening, while Megan was at work and the girls were playing in their room, Ethan decided to sort through some old papers in the attic. He needed a distraction and hoped to find something to remind him of simpler times. As he sifted through the dusty boxes, a small locked metal box caught his eye. He didn't remember seeing it before. Curiosity piqued, Ethan took the box downstairs. He rummaged through a drawer until he found a small key that looked like it might fit. To his surprise, the key turned and the box clicked open. Inside, he found a stack of letters and photographs. The top letter was addressed to Megan from Adam Bennett. Ethan's heart pounded as he read the letter. It was filled with affectionate words, detailing meetings and promises that suggested a much deeper relationship than Megan had admitted. The letters revealed that their connection wasn't just a friendship, but something more intimate. His mind raced with conflicting emotions, anger, betrayal, and confusion. Why hadn't Megan told him the whole truth? He felt a deep pit in his stomach as he realized there was still so much he didn't know. That evening, when Megan returned home, Ethan was sitting at the kitchen table, the box and its contents spread out before him. She froze in the doorway, her eyes widening in shock. "What is this, Megan?" Ethan's voice was calm but laced with a simmering anger. Megan's face went pale. "Ethan, I can explain." "Explain? You told me Adam was just an old friend who needed help. These letters tell a different story," Ethan said, his voice rising. Megan took a deep breath, tears welling up in her eyes. "I didn't want to hurt you, Ethan. I was ashamed. It was a mistake, something I thought I had put behind me." Ethan stood up, the anger boiling over. "A mistake? You lied to me, Megan. You lied about everything." Megan stepped forward, reaching out to him. "Ethan, please. It ended before we even got married. I never meant for it to affect us. When Adam showed up again, I panicked. I didn't know how to handle it." Ethan pulled away, his heart breaking. "You should have told me the truth from the beginning." Megan sobbed, collapsing into a chair. "I am so sorry, Ethan. I was scared. I didn't want to lose you." Ethan's mind raced, struggling to process the revelations. He took a deep breath, trying to regain control of his emotions. "We need to talk about this, Megan. We need to be honest with each other. No more secrets." Megan nodded, wiping her tears. "You are right. No more secrets." They spent the next few hours talking, laying everything out in the open. Megan admitted that her relationship with Adam had been more than a friendship, a brief affair that had ended years ago. She had buried it deep, hoping it would never resurface. When Adam contacted her, she was overwhelmed with guilt and fear. Ethan listened, his heart heavy. He felt a mix of anger and sorrow, but also a strange sense of relief. The truth was painful, but it was a step towards healing. The next few days were difficult. The trust between them was shattered, and it would take time to rebuild. Ethan threw himself into work, trying to find some semblance of normalcy. Megan, too, focused on her job and the children, doing her best to hold the family together. One evening, as Ethan was getting ready to leave for a long haul, he noticed Megan sitting on the porch, looking lost in thought. He walked over, sitting beside her. "Megan, we've been through a lot. I'm still hurt, but I want to find a way to move forward," Ethan said, his voice gentle. Megan looked at him, her eyes filled with hope. "I want that too, Ethan. I'll do whatever it takes." Ethan took her hand, squeezing it gently. "We need to rebuild the trust. It won't be easy, but I believe we can do it." Megan nodded, a tear rolling down her cheek. "I believe we can too." As the weeks passed, they worked on their relationship, attending counseling sessions and spending more quality time together. It wasn't easy, but they were committed to healing and moving forward. One Saturday afternoon, while they were at the park with Sophia and Emma, Ethan received a call from Officer Collins. He stepped away to take the call, his heart racing. "Ethan, I wanted to give you an update. Adam Bennett has been cooperative, and we've learned more about his activities. It seems he was involved in some serious criminal activities, including blackmail. We are still investigating, but I thought you should know," Officer Collins said. Ethan thanked him, feeling a mix of relief and concern. He returned to Megan, who was watching the girls play on the swings. "What's just wrong, Ethan?" Megan asked, sensing his unease. "Collins just called. They've learned more about Adam. He was involved in blackmail and other criminal activities," Ethan explained. Megan's face paled. "Do you think he was blackmailing me?" Ethan nodded. "It's possible, but the important thing is that he is in custody now. We are safe." Megan took a deep breath, relief washing over her. "Thank you for standing by me, Ethan. I know I made mistakes, but I'm so grateful for your support." Ethan pulled her into a hug. "We'll get through this, Megan. Together." As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the park, Ethan felt a renewed sense of hope. They had faced their darkest fears and come out stronger. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together with honesty and trust. Life slowly returned to a new normal. Ethan and Megan continued to work on their relationship, building a stronger foundation based on honesty and trust. They focused on their family, creating happy memories and enjoying the simple moments. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the stars, Megan leaned into Ethan, her head resting on his shoulder. "Thank you for believing in us, Ethan." Ethan kissed the top of her head, feeling a deep sense of contentment. "I always will, Megan. Always." As they sat there, wrapped in each other's arms, Ethan knew that they had faced the storm and emerged stronger. Their love had been tested, but it had endured, and with that, they looked to the future with hope and determination, ready to face whatever came their way. Chapter 7. Protecting the Family. With the truth about Adam Bennett out in the open, and his criminal activities under investigation, Ethan and Megan began to slowly rebuild their lives. However, the damage done left scars that would take time to heal. Despite their efforts to move forward, the lingering sense of unease never fully dissipated. Ethan threw himself into his work, finding solace in the routine and the open road. The long hauls gave him time to think, to process everything that had happened. Megan, on the other hand, focused on her job and their daughters, doing her best to maintain a sense of normalcy for Sophia and Emma. One afternoon, Ethan was at home, working on some repairs in the garage when he received a call from Officer Collins. He wiped his hands on a rag and answered the phone, his heart skipping a beat. "Ethan, we've got a situation. Adam Bennett's associates have been making inquiries about you and Megan. We believe they might pose a threat," Officer Collins said, his tone serious. Ethan's stomach dropped. "What kind of threat?" "We're not sure yet, but we need you to take precautions. I am sending officers to patrol your neighborhood. Make sure you and your family aren't alone and stay alert," Collins advised. Ethan thanked him and hung up, feeling a surge of protectiveness for his family. He walked into the house, finding Megan in the kitchen preparing dinner. "Megan, we need to talk," Ethan said, his voice tense. Megan looked up, concern etching her features. What is it, Ethan? Collins called. Adam S. Associates are looking for us. They might be a threat. We need to be extra careful, Ethan explained. Megan S. face paled. What do we do? Collins is sending officers to patrol the area. We need to stay together, avoid being alone. We'll get through this, Megan. We just need to be cautious, Ethan assured her. Megan nodded, taking a deep breath. Okay, we'll stay vigilant. Over the next few days, the police presence in their neighborhood was noticeable. Patrol cars drove by regularly, and officers kept a close watch. Despite the heightened security, the sense of unease remained. One evening, as they were having dinner, the phone rang. Ethan answered it, recognizing the voice on the other end immediately. Ethan, it's Emily. I just heard something disturbing. One of my contacts mentioned that Adam S. Associates are not just looking for you, they're replanning something. You need to be on high alert, Emily warned. Ethan's heart raced. Thanks for the heads up, Emily. We'll be careful. He hung up and returned to the table, forcing a smile for Sophia and Emma's sake. Everything's fine, girls. Just a call from Aunt Emily. After dinner, Ethan and Megan sat in the living room, discussing their options. We can't keep living like this, Ethan. The constant fear, the police presence, it's not good for the girls, Megan said, her voice trembling. Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of the situation. I know, Megan. We need to think of something. As they were talking, a loud noise from outside startled them. Ethan jumped up, peering out the window. He saw a figure running away from their driveway. Heart pounding, he grabbed his phone and called Officer Collins. Collins, someone was just outside our house. They ran off when I looked out, Ethan reported. Stay inside, Ethan. We'll send officers over immediately, Collins instructed. Within minutes, patrol cars arrived and officers began searching the area. They found no sign of the intruder, but the incident heightened everyone's anxiety. Collins advised them to stay inside and keep all doors and windows locked. The following morning, Ethan decided to take more drastic measures. He contacted a security company and arranged for a state-of-the-art security system to be installed in their home. Cameras, alarms, and reinforced locks were set up, providing an added layer of protection. As the technicians worked, Ethan spoke with the lead installer. Is there anything else we can do to make sure my family is safe? The installer nodded. We can install panic buttons in several rooms. If something happens, you can press them to trigger an immediate police response. Ethan agreed, wanting every possible precaution. By the end of the day, their home was fortified, and Ethan felt a small measure of relief. That evening, as they tucked the girls into bed, Ethan and Megan reassured them. We've got a new security system to keep us safe. Everything is going to be okay, Ethan said, kissing Sophia and Emma goodnight. Megan and Ethan lay in bed, the weight of the day pressing down on them. Ethan, do you think this will ever end? Megan asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Ethan sighed, pulling her close. I don't know, Megan, but we'll face it together, just like we always have. Days turned into weeks, and the heightened security measures seemed to pay off. There were no further incidents, and the police reported no unusual activity in their area. The tension began to ease, and life started to feel somewhat normal again. One Saturday afternoon, Ethan decided to take the girls to the park. Megan stayed home to catch up on some work. As they played on the swings and slides, Ethan kept a watchful eye, always alert. Despite the ongoing situation, he was determined to give Sophia and Emma a sense of normalcy. As they were leaving the park, Ethan noticed a familiar face. It was Brian, Megan's brother. He waved and walked over, a serious expression on his face. Ethan, can we talk? Brian asked, glancing at the girls. Sure, let us sit over there, Ethan said, nodding towards a bench. Once they were seated, Brian took a deep breath. I've been doing some digging. Adam S. Associates aren't just thugs. They are part of a bigger criminal organization. They won't stop until they get what they want. Ethan's heart sank. What do they want? Brian shook his head. Money, power, control. They see you and Megan as a loose end. I think you need to consider going into hiding, at least until the police can take down the entire organization. Ethan's mind raced. How do we do that? The girls, Megan S. job, everything? Brian placed a hand on Ethan S.'s shoulder. I know it is a lot, but I can help. I have some contacts who can set you up in a safe location. It is temporary, but it's the best way to keep your family safe. Ethan nodded slowly, realizing the gravity of the situation. Okay, I'll talk to Megan. Thank you, Brian. That evening, Ethan and Megan sat down for a serious conversation. Megan, Brian thinks we should go into hiding. Adam S. associates are part of a larger organization. They won T-Stop, Ethan explained. Megan looked shocked, her eyes welling up with tears. Hiding? What about the girls? Our jobs? Ethan took her hands in his. It's temporary, Megan. Just until the police can take down the organization. Brian can help us set it up. Megan nodded, wiping her tears. If it's what we need to do to stay safe, then we'll do it. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparations. Brian's contacts arranged for a safe house in a remote location, and they packed only the essentials. Sophia and Emma were told they were going on an extended vacation, a small white lie to protect them from the harsh reality. As they drove to the safe house, Ethan felt a mix of fear and determination. They were entering uncharted territory, but he was resolute in his decision to protect his family at all costs. The safe house was a modest cabin in the mountains, far from prying eyes. It had all the basic necessities and, most importantly, security. Brian's contacts had ensured the place was well protected. As they settled in, Ethan and Megan took a deep breath, feeling a strange mix of relief and anxiety. They were safe, for now, but the uncertainty of their situation loomed large. One evening, as they sat by the fireplace, Megan turned to Ethan. Thank you for keeping us safe, Ethan. I know this isn't easy, but I am grateful for you. Ethan pulled her close, kissing her forehead. We'll get through this, Megan. Together. The days in the safe house were slow and quiet, a stark contrast to their previous life. They focused on creating a sense of normalcy for the girls, who adapted surprisingly well. Ethan and Megan spent their time talking, playing games with Sophia and Emma, and staying in touch with Brian for updates. One morning, Ethan received a call from Officer Collins. Ethan, we've made significant progress. We've arrested several key members of the organization. It's only a matter of time before we dismantle it completely. Ethan felt a surge of hope. Thank you, Collins. This means everything to us. As he hung up, he turned to Megan, a smile spreading across his face. They're making progress. It's almost over. Megan hugged him tightly, tears of relief streaming down her face. I can wait to go home, Ethan. The following weeks saw more arrests and the gradual dismantling of the criminal organization. Finally, the day came when Officer Collins called with the news they had been waiting for. Ethan, yes over. The organization has been taken down. You can come home, Collins announced. Ethan thanked him, feeling a wave of relief wash over him. He turned to Megan and the girls who were eagerly waiting for news. We are going home. The drive back was filled with excitement and anticipation. As they pulled into their driveway, Ethan felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in months. They were finally safe, and their ordeal was over. That evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Ethan and Megan reflected on their journey. They had faced unimaginable challenges and emerged stronger. Thank you for believing in us, Ethan, Megan said, her voice filled with emotion. Ethan kissed her gently. I always will, Megan, always. As they held each other, watching the stars appear in the night sky, Ethan knew they had overcome the darkness. Their love had been tested, but it had endured, and with that, they looked to the future with hope and determination, ready to face whatever came their way. Chapter 8. The Aftermath. Returning home after weeks in the safe house was a bittersweet experience. Ethan and Megan felt a profound sense of relief, but they knew that their lives had been irreversibly changed. The past few months had taken a toll on them, both emotionally and mentally. The first few days back were a whirlwind of activity. Friends and family dropped by to check on them, offering support and comfort. Brian, in particular, was a constant presence, helping them settle back in and providing updates on the ongoing police investigations. One evening, as they sat in their living room, Brian shared some important news. "Ethan, Megan, I wanted to let you know that the police have successfully dismantled the organization. Adam Bennett and his associates are in custody and they want to be bothering you again." Megan let out a sigh of relief. "That is such a weight off our shoulders. Thank you, Brian, and thank you for all your help." Brian smiled warmly. "You are family. I'd do anything for you." Despite the relief, Ethan noticed that Megan was still struggling. She had become more withdrawn and her usual spark seemed dimmed. He knew that the trauma they had endured would take time to heal, but he was determined to help her through it. One afternoon, as they were sitting on the porch, Ethan decided to broach the subject gently. "Megan, I've noticed you've been quiet lately. How are you really feeling?" Megan looked down, her fingers tracing the edge of her coffee mug. "I'm trying, Ethan, but it's hard. I keep thinking about everything that happened, and it feels like it's still haunting me." Ethan reached over and took her hand. "I understand. We've been through a lot, but you don't have to go through this alone. We can talk to someone. Get professional help if you need it." Megan nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. "Maybe that's a good idea. I've been trying to be strong, but I think I need help." Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "We'll find someone. Together." They decided to see a therapist who specialized in trauma. The sessions were tough, bringing up painful memories and emotions, but it was a necessary step towards healing. Megan found solace in sharing her feelings, and Ethan's unwavering support gave her strength. Meanwhile, life at home continued to find its rhythm. Sophia and Emma adjusted remarkably well, their resilience a testament to the love and support they received from their parents. Ethan and Megan made a conscious effort to create happy memories for their daughters, filling their days with laughter and joy. One sunny Saturday, they decided to have a picnic at the local park. As they spread out the blanket and unpacked the food, Ethan felt a sense of peace. Watching Sophia and Emma chase each other across the grass, he realized how far they had come. "Megan, look at them. They were so happy," Ethan said, a smile spreading across his face. Megan nodded, her eyes filled with warmth. "They are, and it's all because of you, Ethan. You've been our rock." Ethan shook his head. "We've been each other's rock. We've effaced everything together." That evening, as they put the girls to bed, Sophia looked up at Ethan with wide eyes. "Daddy, are we safe now?" Ethan nodded, smiling reassuringly. "Yes, sweetie, we are safe. Everything is going to be okay." The following weeks saw a gradual return to normalcy. Megan continued her therapy sessions, finding new ways to cope and heal. Ethan, too, found solace in talking to the therapist, working through his own feelings of anger and fear. One evening, as they sat on the porch, Megan turned to Ethan, a thoughtful expression on her face. "Ethan, I've been thinking. Maybe it's time for a fresh start. A new beginning." Ethan looked at her curious. "What do you mean?" Megan took a deep breath. "I think we should move. Find a new place, a new home where we can leave the past behind and build a future." Ethan considered her words. "A fresh start sounds good, but are you sure? We have built a life here." Megan nodded. "I know. But I think it's what we need, a place where we can create new memories and heal." Ethan smiled, feeling a sense of excitement. "Then let us do it. Let us find our new home." They began the search for a new house, one that would symbolize their new beginning. After weeks of looking, they found the perfect place, a charming house in a quiet neighborhood, with a large backyard for the girls to play in. Moving day was a mix of emotions. As they packed up their old house, memories flooded back, but there was also a sense of anticipation for what lay ahead. Brian and other family members helped with the move, making the transition smooth and less overwhelming. Their new home quickly became a place of joy and healing. The girls loved their new rooms, and Megan found solace in decorating the house, making it their own. Ethan focused on creating a sense of security, installing a new security system, and ensuring their safety. One evening, as they sat in their new living room, Megan turned to Ethan, a smile on her face. "This feels right, Ethan. I feel like we are finally home." Ethan nodded, pulling her close. It does, and we are together. That's all that matters. As the days turned into weeks, the new house began to feel like home. They settled into a new routine, filled with laughter, love, and a renewed sense of hope. Megan continued her therapy, growing stronger each day. Ethan, too, found peace in their new life, grateful for the fresh start. One afternoon, as they were playing in the backyard, Sophia ran over to Ethan, her eyes shining with excitement. "Daddy, look! I made a new friend!" Ethan looked up to see a little girl standing at the fence, smiling shyly. He waved, feeling a sense of happiness. "That's great, Sophia. What's her name?" "Her name is Lily. Can she come over to play?" Sophia asked, her voice full of hope. Ethan smiled, nodding. "Of course she can. Let's go meet her parents." As they walked over to the fence, Ethan felt a sense of pride. They had come through the darkness and found the light. Their journey had been difficult, but it had made them stronger. That evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Megan turned to Ethan, her eyes filled with love. "Thank you for believing in us, Ethan, for standing by me through everything." Ethan kissed her gently, his heart full. "I always will, Megan, always." As they held each other, watching the stars appear in the night sky, Ethan knew that their love had been tested and had endured. They had faced their fears and come out stronger, and with that, they looked to the future with hope and determination, ready to face whatever came their way. Chapter 9. Reconnecting with Alex. Life in their new home brought a sense of peace and stability that Ethan and Megan had longed for. The girls thrived in their new environment, making friends and enjoying their new school. Ethan and Megan continued to heal, their bond growing stronger with each passing day. One crisp autumn morning, Ethan decided to take a drive to clear his mind. He had been reflecting on his past, the events that had shaped him, and the people who had left an indelible mark on his life. As he drove through the familiar countryside, memories of his childhood summers with Alex flooded back. He wondered what had become of her, and if she still thought about those carefree days as often as he did. Lost in thought, Ethan found himself driving towards Cape May, the place where he and Alex had spent so many happy summers. The town had changed over the years, but the essence of it remained the same. He parked near the beach and walked along the shore, the salty breeze bringing a sense of nostalgia. As he strolled along the beach, he noticed a small cafe that he and Alex used to frequent. On a whim, he decided to go inside. The place was cozy and inviting, with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling the air. Ethan ordered a cup and took a seat by the window, gazing out at the ocean. He was lost in his thoughts when a familiar voice broke through the haze. "Ethan? Is that you?" Ethan turned to see a woman standing nearby, her eyes wide with surprise. It took a moment for him to recognize her, but when he did, a smile spread across his face. "Alex? Wow, it's been so long." Alex laughed, the sound bringing back memories of their childhood adventures. "It has. I can believe it's really you. What brings you back here?" Ethan gestured to the seat across from him. "Take a seat. It is a long story." As they caught up, Ethan shared the recent events of his life, the challenges he and Megan had faced, and their journey towards healing. Alex listened intently, her eyes filled with empathy and understanding. "You've been through a lot, Ethan." "I am glad to see you are doing better," Alex said, her voice soft. Ethan nodded, feeling a sense of relief in sharing his story with someone who had known him so well. "Thanks, Alex. It's been tough, but we are stronger for it." Alex smiled warmly. "I am not surprised. You have always been strong, Ethan." They spent the rest of the afternoon reminiscing about their childhood and catching up on each other's lives. Alex had become a successful photographer, traveling the world and capturing moments of beauty and emotion. Despite the years that had passed, their connection felt as strong as ever. As the sun began to set, Ethan realized how much he had missed Alex's presence in his life. He invited her to visit his new home and meet his family, and Alex readily accepted. A few weeks later, Alex arrived at Ethan and Megan's home, bringing a sense of excitement and anticipation. Megan greeted her warmly, and Sophia and Emma were thrilled to meet their dad's childhood friend. Daddy talks about you all the time, Sophia said, her eyes wide with curiosity. Alex laughed, ruffling Sophia's hair. I hope he only said good things. Ethan grinned. Only the best. Over the next few days, Alex settled into their home, sharing stories and photos from her travels. She quickly bonded with Sophia and Emma, who were fascinated by her adventures. Megan and Alex also formed a close friendship, finding common ground in their experiences and mutual respect for each other. One evening, as they sat around the dining table, Ethan proposed a toast. To old friends and new beginnings. We are grateful to have you in our lives, Alex. Alex raised her glass, smiling. To friendship and the journeys that bring us together. As the weeks passed, Alex's presence brought a new sense of joy and adventure to their lives. She and Ethan often took long walks, reminiscing about the past and discussing their hopes for the future. Megan appreciated the positive influence Alex had on Ethan, seeing how their friendship helped him heal. One day, as they were walking through a nearby park, Ethan turned to Alex with a thoughtful expression. Alex, have you ever thought about settling down, finding a place to call home? Alex looked out at the trees, a wistful smile on her face. I have. Sometimes I think about it, but I've always been a wanderer. It is hard to stay in one place for too long. Ethan nodded, understanding her restlessness. I get that, but you are always welcome here. You are part of our family now. Alex smiled, her eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, Ethan. That means a lot to me. As the seasons changed, Alex continued to stay with Ethan and Megan, becoming an integral part of their lives. Her presence brought a sense of balance and happiness that had been missing. She even started working on a new photography project, capturing the beauty of their new town and its people. One afternoon, as Ethan and Alex were walking through the town square, they stumbled upon an old, abandoned building. Alex's eyes lit up with excitement. This place has so much potential. Imagine turning it into a community center, a place where people can come together and create. Ethan looked at the building, seeing it through Alex's eyes. That's a fantastic idea, Alex. We could do so much good here. Inspired by the idea, they presented it to the town council, who were enthusiastic about the project. With the support of the community, they began the process of renovating the building, transforming it into a vibrant community center. As the project took shape, Ethan and Alex spent countless hours working together, their friendship deepening. Megan and the girls also got involved, adding their own touches to the center. It became a labor of love, a symbol of their resilience and hope for the future. On the day of the grand opening, the community center was filled with laughter and celebration. Ethan stood on the stage, looking out at the crowd, feeling a profound sense of pride and accomplishment. Thank you all for being here today, Ethan began, his voice filled with emotion. This project wouldn't have been possible without the support of this amazing community and the dedication of my dear friend Alex. This center is a testament to what we can achieve when we come together. The crowd erupted in applause, and Alex joined Ethan on the stage, her eyes shining with happiness. Thank you, Ethan, and thank you everyone for making this dream a reality. As they cut the ribbon and welcomed the community into the center, Ethan felt a sense of fulfillment. They had turned a vision into reality, creating a place where people could connect, create, and grow. That evening, as they celebrated with friends and family, Ethan pulled Alex aside. You've done something incredible here, Alex. I am so proud of you. Alex smiled, her eyes filled with gratitude. We did this together, Ethan, and it is just the beginning. As they raised their glasses in a toast, Ethan knew that their journey was far from over. They had faced challenges and overcome them, building a brighter future together. And with that, they looked to the future with hope and determination, ready to embrace whatever came their way. Chapter 10: New Beginnings. With the success of the community center and the positive impact Alex had brought into their lives, Ethan and Megan felt more grounded and hopeful than ever. Their journey had been long and arduous, but they had emerged stronger, both individually and as a family. As winter approached, the town began to prepare for the annual holiday festival. It was a beloved tradition, bringing together families and friends to celebrate the season with music, food, and festivities. This year, the community center would play a central role, hosting various events and activities. Ethan and Alex threw themselves into the preparations, eager to make the festival a memorable one. Megan, too, was deeply involved, organizing a charity drive to support local families in need. The girls were excited, looking forward to the fun and the chance to show off their holiday decorations. One crisp December evening, as they decorated the community center, Ethan noticed Megan standing by the window, lost in thought. He walked over, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Penny for your thoughts?" Megan smiled, leaning into him. "I was just thinking about how far we've come. It feels like a lifetime ago that we were living in fear, and now here we are, surrounded by friends and family, building something beautiful." Ethan nodded, his heart swelling with pride. "We've been through a lot, but we have come out stronger. I couldn't have done it without you, Megan." Megan turned to face him, her eyes shining with love. "And I couldn't have done it without you, Ethan. You've been my rock." As they embraced, Alex approached, a playful grin on her face. "Are you two going to stand there being all mushy, or are you going to help me hang these lights?" Ethan laughed, releasing Megan. "We are on it, Alex." They spent the rest of the evening decorating, laughing, and sharing stories. The warmth and camaraderie were palpable, a testament to the bonds they had forged and the new beginnings they had embraced. The night of the festival arrived, and the community center was transformed into a winter wonderland. Lights twinkled, music filled the air, and the smell of freshly baked cookies wafted through the halls. Families and friends gathered, their faces lit with joy and excitement. Ethan stood on the stage looking out at the crowd. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment, knowing that they had created something special. As he took the microphone, the room quieted and all eyes turned to him. "Good evening, everyone," Ethan began, his voice carrying through the hall. "Thank you all for being here tonight. This festival is a celebration of our community, our resilience, and the bonds that unite us. It's been a challenging year for many of us, but tonight we come together to celebrate the joy and hope of the holiday season." The crowd erupted in applause, and Ethan smiled, his heart full. "I want to take a moment to thank someone who has been instrumental in making this night possible. Alex, your vision and dedication have brought this community center to life, and we are all grateful for your hard work." Alex joined Ethan on the stage, her eyes shining with happiness. "Thank you, Ethan, and thank you everyone for your support. This community center is a testament to what we can achieve when we come together. Let us enjoy tonight and create beautiful memories." As the festivities continued, Ethan felt a sense of peace and contentment. He watched as Megan danced with the girls, their laughter filling the air. Alex mingled with the crowd, her camera capturing the joyful moments. It was a night to remember, a celebration of new beginnings and the promise of a bright future. Later that evening, as the festival began to wind down, Ethan and Megan found a quiet moment to themselves. They stood outside, the cold night air filled with the sounds of distant laughter and music. Megan leaned into Ethan, her breath visible in the crisp air. "This has been an amazing night, Ethan. I feel like we're finally where we're meant to be." Ethan wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close. "I feel the same way. We've built something beautiful here, Megan, and it's just the beginning." Megan looked up at him, her eyes filled with love. "I am excited for the future, Ethan. For us, for the girls, for everything." Ethan kissed her gently, his heart swelling with love and gratitude. "Me too, Megan. Me too." As they stood there, holding each other, the first snowflakes of the season began to fall, covering the town in a blanket of white. It was a perfect ending to a perfect night, a symbol of the fresh start they had embraced. In the days that followed, the community center became a hub of activity and connection. Ethan and Alex continued to work on new projects, bringing their vision to life. Megan's charity drive was a resounding success, helping numerous families and bringing the community closer together. One afternoon, as they were working in the community center, Alex approached Ethan with a thoughtful expression. "Ethan, I've been thinking about something." Ethan looked up from his work, curious. "What's on your mind, Alex?" Alex hesitated for a moment, then smiled. "I think I'm ready to put down roots, to stay in one place and really be a part of this community." Ethan's eyes widened in surprise. "Really? That's fantastic, Alex. We'd love to have you here permanently." Alex nodded, her smile widening. "I've found a place nearby. It needs a bit of work, but I think it could be home." Ethan felt a surge of happiness. "That's amazing, Alex. You've always been a part of our family, and now you'll be a part of our community too." As the weeks passed, Alex settled into her new home, becoming an even more integral part of their lives. The bonds they had forged grew stronger, and their community thrived, filled with love, support, and shared dreams. One evening, as they sat around the dinner table, Sophia looked up at Ethan with a thoughtful expression. "Daddy, do you think we'll always be this happy?" Ethan smiled, his heart full. "I think so, Sophia, because we have each other, and that's all we need." Megan reached across the table, taking Ethan's hand. "We've been through so much, but we've come out stronger. I'm grateful for every moment." Ethan squeezed her hand, his eyes filled with love. "Me too, Megan. Here's to new beginnings and the beautiful journey ahead." As they sat together, surrounded by love and laughter, Ethan knew that they had found their place. Their journey had been filled with challenges, but it had also brought them closer together. And with each new day, they looked to the future with hope and determination, ready to embrace whatever came their way. Chapter 11. Strengthening Bonds with the Community Center. Thriving and Alex settled into her new home, life seemed to be moving in a wonderfully positive direction for Ethan and his family. They had weathered the storm and emerged stronger, and now they were focused on nurturing the bonds they had built. One sunny Saturday morning, Ethan woke up to the smell of pancakes wafting through the house. He smiled, knowing that Megan and the girls were already up and busy in the kitchen. He got out of bed and made his way downstairs, where he found Megan flipping pancakes while Sophia and Emma giggled as they set the table. "Good morning, my beautiful girls," Ethan said, kissing each of them on the forehead. "Morning, Daddy," they chorused. Megan turned and smiled at him. "Morning, Ethan. We're making your favorite blueberry pancakes." Ethan's heart swelled with love. "You know just how to make my day, don't you?" They enjoyed a leisurely breakfast together, filled with laughter and playful banter. After breakfast, they decided to spend the day outdoors, making the most of the beautiful weather. They packed a picnic and headed to a nearby park, where they spent the day playing games, flying kites, and exploring the trails. It was a perfect day, filled with simple pleasures and the joy of being together as a family. In the afternoon, as they were sitting on a blanket, enjoying their picnic, Ethan noticed a familiar figure walking towards them. It was Brian, with a big smile on his face. "Hey, Brian! What a nice surprise!" Ethan called out, waving him over. Brian joined them on the blanket, greeting everyone warmly. "I was just in the area and thought I'd stop by. How's everyone doing?" "We are doing great," Megan replied. "It's been such a lovely day." Brian nodded, looking around at the happy scene. "I'm glad to hear it. You all deserve this happiness." As the sun began to set, they packed up their picnic and headed home. That evening, after the girls were tucked into bed, Ethan and Megan sat on the porch, reflecting on the day. "Megan, I feel like we've come so far. I am so grateful for you and the girls," Ethan said, his voice filled with emotion. Megan smiled, resting her head on his shoulder. "I feel the same way, Ethan. We've built something truly special." Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of a car pulling into the driveway. They looked up to see Alex getting out, a bright smile on her face. "Hey, Alex! Come join us!" Ethan called out. Alex walked over and took a seat next to them. "I was just driving by and saw your lights on. Thought I'd see if you were up for some company." "Always," Megan replied, patting the seat beside her. As they sat together, talking and laughing, Ethan felt a deep sense of contentment. Their bonds had been tested, but they had come through stronger and more united. He knew that they could face anything as long as they had each other. Over the next few weeks, life continued to be filled with joy and new experiences. The community center became a hub of activity, with new programs and events bringing people together. Alex's photography project was a resounding success, capturing the essence of their town and its people. One evening, as they were hosting a small gathering at the community center, Ethan found himself in a quiet moment with Alex. They stood by one of her photo displays, admiring the images. "You've got a real gift, Alex. These photos are incredible," Ethan said, his voice filled with admiration. Alex smiled, her eyes shining with pride. "Thank you, Ethan. It means a lot coming from you." Ethan looked at her, a thought forming in his mind. "Alex, have you ever considered doing a book, a collection of your photos and the stories behind them?" Alex's eyes widened with excitement. "I've thought about it, but I wasn't sure if anyone would be interested." Ethan nodded enthusiastically. "I think it would be amazing. Your photos tell such powerful stories. I'd love to help you make it happen." Alex smiled, a mixture of gratitude and excitement on her face. "I'd love that, Ethan. Let's do it." As they began planning the book project, Ethan felt a renewed sense of purpose. Working on something creative and meaningful brought him joy, and he was excited to help Alex share her talent with the world. In the meantime, Megan was busy with her own projects. She had started a support group for families who had faced similar challenges, providing a safe space for them to share their experiences and find strength in each other. One evening, as Megan was preparing for a support group meeting, Ethan walked into the kitchen, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "You are amazing. You know that?" Megan turned in his arms, smiling up at him. "Why's that?" "Because you are always thinking of others, always finding ways to help." "You are an inspiration," Ethan said, his voice filled with admiration. Megan blushed, leaning into him. "Thank you, Ethan. I just want to make a difference. You already have, Megan." "More than you know," Ethan replied, kissing her gently. As the weeks turned into months, their lives continued to be filled with new beginnings and meaningful moments. The community center thrived, Megan's support group grew, and Alex's book project took shape. One sunny afternoon, they decided to have a barbecue in their backyard, inviting friends and family to join them. The air was filled with the smell of grilled food and the sound of laughter. As Ethan manned the grill, Brian walked over, a cold drink in hand. "This is what it's all about, huh?" Ethan nodded, smiling. "Absolutely, family, friends, and good times." Later that evening, as they sat around a fire pit, roasting marshmallows and sharing stories, Ethan felt a deep sense of gratitude. They had come through so much, but they had built something beautiful. Megan leaned into him, her eyes reflecting the firelight. "Ethan, I am so happy. I can't imagine a better life than this." Ethan kissed her forehead, his heart full. "Me too, Megan. We've built something amazing together." As they sat there, surrounded by love and laughter, Ethan knew that they were exactly where they were meant to be. Their journey had been filled with challenges, but it had also brought them closer together. And with each new day, they faced the future with hope and determination, ready to embrace whatever came their way. Chapter 12. A Bright Future. The arrival of spring brought a renewed sense of hope and energy to Ethan and Megan's lives. The town was in full bloom, with flowers lining the streets and the scent of fresh blossoms filling the air. It was a season of growth and new beginnings, and it mirrored the journey that Ethan, Megan, and their family had been on. Ethan and Alex's book project was nearing completion, and the excitement was palpable. The community center was bustling with activity as they prepared for the book launch, which had turned into a significant event for the town. Megan's support group continued to thrive, providing a beacon of hope and strength for families facing similar challenges. One sunny afternoon, Ethan and Alex met at the community center to finalize the details for the book launch. They reviewed the proofs, carefully selecting the best photos and stories to include. Alex's eyes sparkled with excitement as she flipped through the pages. "This is really happening, Ethan. I can't believe it," Alex said, her voice filled with awe. Ethan smiled, his heart swelling with pride. "You've created something beautiful, Alex. I'm just glad I could be a part of it." As they worked, Ethan's phone buzzed with a message from Megan. "Hey, can you pick up the girls from school today? I have a meeting running late." Ethan replied with a quick, "Of course," and turned to Alex. "I need to pick up Sophia and Emma. Want to come along?" Alex nodded eagerly. "I'd love to." They drove to the school, chatting about the final preparations for the launch. When they arrived, Sophia and Emma ran to the car, their faces lighting up when they saw Alex. "Aunt Alex!" they cried in unison, rushing to hug her. Alex laughed, returning their hugs. "Hey girls, how was school? It was fun! We learned about butterflies," Sophia said excitedly. Emma nodded, her eyes wide with excitement. "And we made paper ones?" Ethan smiled, watching the interaction. "Sounds like a great day. How about we get some ice cream to celebrate?" The girls cheered, and they headed to the local ice cream parlor. As they sat outside, enjoying their treats, Ethan felt a profound sense of happiness. Life had a way of surprising him, and he was grateful for every moment. Later that evening, as they gathered around the dinner table, Megan shared an exciting update about her support group. "We've been invited to speak at a conference in the city. It has a great opportunity to share our experiences and help more families." Ethan beamed with pride. "That's fantastic, Megan. You've worked so hard to build this group, and it's making a real difference." Megan smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. "Thank you, Ethan. It means a lot to have your support." As the days passed, the anticipation for the book launch grew. The town buzzed with excitement, and the community center was a hive of activity. The evening of the launch arrived, and the center was filled with friends, family, and townsfolk eager to celebrate. Ethan stood by Alex, watching as she mingled with guests and signed copies of her book. He felt a deep sense of pride and admiration for his friend. She had poured her heart and soul into this project, and it showed in every page. As the evening drew to a close, Alex took the stage to give a speech. She looked out at the crowd, her eyes filled with emotion. "Thank you all for being here tonight. This book is a celebration of our community, our resilience, and the beauty of the human spirit. I couldn't have done this without the support of my dear friend Ethan and all of you. This is just the beginning, and I'm excited for what the future holds." The crowd erupted in applause, and Ethan felt a tear slip down his cheek. He wiped it away, smiling as he joined Alex on stage. "Alex, your work has inspired us all. We are grateful for you and the light you bring to our lives." After the launch, as they packed up, Alex turned to Ethan, her eyes glistening with tears. "Thank you, Ethan, for everything. You've been my rock through all of this." Ethan hugged her tightly. "And you've been mine, Alex. We've come a long way together." In the weeks that followed, life continued to blossom with new opportunities and adventures. Megan's support group gained recognition, attracting more members and expanding its reach. Alex's book became a local bestseller, and she was invited to speak at various events, sharing her journey and inspiring others. One evening as they sat on the porch, Megan turned to Ethan with a thoughtful expression. "Ethan, I've been thinking about starting a new project, something that combines our passions." Ethan looked at her, curious. "What do you have in mind?" Megan smiled, her eyes twinkling with excitement. "I want to start a foundation, one that supports families in crisis, provides resources, and builds strong communities. We've seen how much of a difference support and connection can make. I think we can do even more." Ethan's heart swelled with pride. "That's an incredible idea, Megan. I am all in." As they began planning the foundation, their excitement grew. They reached out to friends and community members, gathering support and resources. The foundation took shape, becoming a beacon of hope and strength for those in need. One sunny afternoon, as they stood outside the newly established foundation headquarters, Ethan and Megan felt a profound sense of fulfillment. They had turned their challenges into opportunities, building a legacy of love and support. As they cut the ribbon, officially opening the foundation, Ethan looked at Megan, his heart overflowing with love and gratitude. "We've built something amazing, Megan, together." Megan smiled, tears of joy in her eyes. "We have, Ethan, and this is just the beginning." The following months were filled with hard work, but also with a deep sense of purpose and joy. The foundation flourished, helping countless families and strengthening the community. Ethan, Megan, Alex, and their friends and family worked tirelessly, their efforts bringing about meaningful change. One evening, as they hosted a fundraiser at the community center, Ethan stood on the stage, looking out at the sea of familiar faces. He felt a deep sense of pride and accomplishment. "Thank you all for being here tonight. Your support means the world to us. Together, we are building a brighter future." The crowd erupted in applause, and Ethan felt a wave of gratitude wash over him. He looked at Megan, standing by his side, her eyes filled with love and pride. He reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. As the evening progressed, Ethan found a quiet moment to reflect. He walked outside, taking in the crisp night air. Alex joined him, a knowing smile on her face. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Alex said, her voice filled with warmth. Ethan nodded, his heart full. "We have, and I'm grateful for every step of the journey." Alex placed a hand on his shoulder. "You've built something beautiful, Ethan. A family, a community, a legacy. You should be proud." Ethan smiled, feeling a deep sense of peace. "I am, Alex, and I couldn't have done it without all of you." As they stood there, looking out at the stars, Ethan knew that their future was bright. They had faced challenges, but they had also found strength, love, and hope. And with that, they looked to the future with determination and joy, ready to embrace whatever came their way. Chapter 13. Full Circle. The warmth of summer had settled over the town, and with it came a sense of peace and fulfillment for Ethan and his family. Their lives had found a beautiful rhythm, filled with meaningful work, close friendships, and the simple joys of everyday life. The community center and the foundation they had established were thriving, making a significant impact on the lives of many. One Saturday morning, as the sun rose high in the sky, Ethan decided to take a drive. He felt a pull to visit Cape May, where so many of his childhood memories with Alex had been made. He asked Megan if she'd like to join him, and to his delight, she agreed. They left Sophia and Emma with Brian, who was more than happy to spend the day with his nieces. As they drove towards the coast, the scenery changed from suburban neighborhoods to rolling hills and open fields. The closer they got to Cape May, the more Ethan felt a sense of nostalgia and excitement. Megan, sensing his emotions, reached over and took his hand. "I'm glad we are doing this, Ethan. It's nice to revisit old memories and create new ones together," Megan said, her voice filled with warmth. Ethan smiled, squeezing her hand. "Me too, Megan. This place holds a special part of my past, and I am excited to share it with you." When they arrived in Cape May, they parked near the beach and took a leisurely walk along the shore. The salty breeze and the sound of waves crashing against the rocks brought back a flood of memories for Ethan. They found a spot to sit and watched the seagulls swooping down to catch their lunch. "Megan, do you remember when I told you about my summers here with Alex?" Ethan asked, gazing out at the ocean. Megan nodded. "Yes, I remember. You two had some incredible adventures." Ethan chuckled. "We did, and now it feels like we've come full circle. Life has brought us back here, but with so much more." They spent the day exploring Cape May, visiting the spots that had been significant in Ethan's childhood. They even stopped by the old cafe where Ethan and Alex had reconnected months ago. As they sat down for a coffee, Ethan noticed a familiar face behind the counter. It was the same waitress who had served him and Alex during their reunion. "Hey, I remember you," the waitress said, her face lighting up with recognition. "You were here with your friend Alex, right?" Ethan smiled. "That's right. It's good to see you again." The waitress grinned. "Small world, isn't it? How is Alex doing?" "She says doing great. In fact, she's become a big part of our lives," Ethan replied, glancing at Megan, who nodded in agreement. After their coffee, they decided to visit the old caravan site where Ethan and his family used to stay. It had been updated and modernized, but the essence of it remained the same. They walked around, reminiscing about the stories Ethan had shared with Megan over the years. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the beach, Ethan and Megan found a quiet spot to sit and watch the horizon. Megan leaned her head on Ethan's shoulder, a contented sigh escaping her lips. "This place is beautiful, Ethan. I can see why it means so much to you," Megan said softly. Ethan wrapped his arm around her, pulling her close. "It does. And now it means even more because I am here with you." As they sat there, a sense of closure and renewal washed over Ethan. He had revisited his past, but more importantly, he had built a future that was rich with love, support, and new beginnings. When they returned home, they found Sophia and Emma waiting eagerly, their faces lighting up when they saw their parents. Brian had prepared a barbecue, and the smell of grilled food filled the air. "Welcome back. How was your trip?" Brian asked, handing Ethan a cold drink. "It was wonderful, Brian." "Thank you for watching the girls," Ethan replied, taking a sip. As they sat down to eat, Ethan felt a profound sense of happiness. They had faced many challenges, but they had also found incredible strength and resilience. Their family was stronger than ever, and their future was bright. Later that evening, as they tucked the girls into bed, Sophia looked up at Ethan with wide eyes. "Daddy, did you have fun at the beach?" Ethan smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "We did, sweetie. It was a special day." Emma, not wanting to be left out, chimed in. "Can we go to the beach too?" Megan laughed, kissing Emma's forehead. "We'll plan a trip soon, I promise." After the girls were asleep, Ethan and Megan sat on the porch, enjoying the warm night air. Megan turned to Ethan, her eyes filled with love. "Thank you for today, Ethan. It was perfect." Ethan took her hand, his heart full. "Thank you, Megan, for everything. I couldn't have asked for a better partner." As they sat there looking up at the stars, Ethan knew that their journey was far from over. There would be new challenges and new adventures, but they would face them together, as a family. And with that, they looked to the future with hope, determination, and a deep sense of gratitude for the love that bound them.